at the service, when I was asking for inspiration for the talk that we offered yesterday morning, Bhagavad Gita came once again, this thing right where we are. The subject that we talked about was dealing with our immortality. And so I mentioned that to Sri Ganesha yesterday, and he said, dealing with our mortality? No, that's not it. Because you're not mortal.
Exactly.
That's where we are in the Gita, isn't it? Mm-hmm. That's where Lord Krishna hits us between the eyes and says, what are you thinking like this for? He says. And then he reminds, there's never been a time, or teaches, there's never been a time when I have not been, nor you, nor all of this. Nor will there ever come a time when any of us cease to be. So it's revolutionary, isn't it? According to our old way of thinking, that's revolutionary. In order to grok it, in order to get it, grasp it, in order to live it, we'll have to turn our life around. We'll have to turn it around. And so this is dealing with our immortality. So let's start this morning. Do we have these? Do we still have them? Okay, here we go. And we'll print more. Yeah, we did. First thing, but thank you for asking.
Because last time
the reminders come
last time you did the camera but forgot the shloka.
Thank you so much for living for me. I do appreciate that. So just remind on the spot is the thing to do. You can just check in on the spot. And then you don't need to hold any of that stuff. But it's helpful for us also to see how we react in situations and how we react in old ways. And still, you want to forgive yourself for it and move on to a new way, right? By changing your intent, by setting that intent, and strong intent. And that's the teaching. That's what Lord Krishna is helping us with here, is how to do. Our lives, what we call lives, are so full of memories and judgments and ideas and beliefs, and all of them are rooted in the notion that we are this limited being. And that's why Arjuna, in spite of such wisdom, such bravery, such a dharmic life, how he comes to this battlefield of life and immediately forgets everything. So it's quite something, and it's quite something what we're dealing with. Really it is. And what we're wanting to do is to come to grips with, I'm not this limited being. So it's not easy. So we forgive everyone. We forgive ourselves. Okay, so the Gita Dhyana. O Bhagavad Gita, by which Arjuna was illumined by Lord Krishna himself, and which was composed of 18 chapters within the Mahabharata by the ancient sage Vyasa. O Divine Mother, destroyer of rebirth, who showers the nectar of oneness upon us, O Bhagavad Gita, my affectionate mother, on thee I meditate. All the Upanishads are the cows, the milker is the cowherd boy Krishna, Arjuna is the calf, people of purified intellect are the drinkers, the milk is the supreme nectar of the Gita, My salutations to the Lord, who is the source of supreme bliss, whose grace makes the mute eloquent and the crippled cross mountains. Hari Om Tat Sat. Okay, so Lord Krishna goes on. And it helps to recognize. I shared on yesterday that usually when we come to this particular sloka, and this is where the teaching really begins in terms of Krishna's talk with us. It begins right here. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor any of these ruling princes, and neither will there ever come a time when we cease to be. It's very interesting what happens in our own psyche when we hear this, or when we hear something like this. It's very interesting. We go into an immediate state of denial. It's like a complete... And so I'll ask, what did he say? What did he say? Who wants to say, what did he say?
What did he say?
Yeah, what did he say?
We are that Sakshi, that unchanging, without beginning, without end, eternal presence.
Oh, that's what he says. That's what he says. And often in a group, if we're doing this with a group first time through the Gita, you know, somebody in the back might, in a very sheepish voice, say something like, "We're eternal," like this. And this is the point. Yeah, we are. But it's such a shock to all of the stuff we've been carrying, to our own sense about ourselves, to our ideas about ourselves, to our most deeply cherished ideas, notions, and beliefs about righteousness and how everybody's supposed to treat me.
Yeah, right.
The ones that we don't want to tell anybody about, we just expect them to know already.
True. Yeah.
Right? That we lose ourselves if they violate.
Oh.
Don't even know it.
Without even seeing it, without catching it.
Yes.
Oh.
Can you give an
Our own,
example?
yeah, our own notions and ideas about ourselves. I'm a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a man. I'm a woman. And because I'm a woman, you're supposed to treat me a certain way. Men are all like. How about those for examples?
Yeah, those are good.
Okay. There are lots. We have a whole world full of examples. I mean, truly, if we understood that we're spirit, I mean, we can say we're spirit. We can say we're Satchidananda. The question is, do we understand it? And if we understand it, then what here could possibly disturb you?
I keep imagining like coming up against huge armies. Even with your best skills, you're gonna still get chopped up and slashed, and even.
What will get chopped, if you understand it, what is it that will get chopped up and slashed?
Well, just your body, but still
Okay.
a lot of pain.
Whose body is it?
It was one thing to get killed and go on.
No. Just play with me. Just play with me, please.
Oh, wait.
I'm playing with you.
Yeah, well,
But not nefariously. We're just following it. Okay. But no, the question is, if you understood what he's saying, just for a moment, and this was part of what we did yesterday, we said, just for a moment, just suspend disbelief. See if you can. See if you can, just for a moment, suspend all of your disbelief. Just set it aside and let it be, and play the game.
Yeah.
And say, all right, what if? What if it's true? What if I am spirit? What if I am not this clay shell?
Sky's the limit.
What if it's true that I am immortal? What if it's true that nothing here can harm me? What if it's true?
Yes. If you didn't feel pain, yes. it would be
Who feels pain? Obviously the body.
the body, and that still transfers to.
Okay, so here, let Krishna share with us some of exactly what you're raising.
I only think
Because there's no doubt Arjuna standing on the battlefield is in that same place you are.
Mm-hmm. You might. It's like, and it's probably a humongous army. Like
Yeah!
it looks like it's
And he's still pretty freaked out, but he's coming around because he surrendered.
This is vast Aryan army.
I quoted you yesterday. I attributed it to our dear Kartikeya. He's freaking out.
Well, it just so happened that I had a dream last night where these three of us came up against 5 bullies, and I was just about to get beat up by this dude, and it was big, and it was scary because you know you're gonna get into a lot of pain. It'll be fine later.
Yeah.
But the pain itself is kind of
Okay. And do you see that that's the chapter 1 stuff?
Yeah.
Right? You see that? Oh. But here Krishna's taking us into a completely different realm. He's wanting us to be in a completely different place.
Yeah. It's just like, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh. So he continues to explain. He says, that which is embodied experiences the body's childhood, youth, and old age, and also in time acquires another body. And then he gives us this statement of yoga. This does not disturb one whose mind is calm. So for one who knows this to be true and whose mind is settled in the truth, then how could that disturb?
Mm-hmm.
So he's just sharing. This does not disturb one whose mind is calm. And then he gives Arjuna guidance to exactly the point.
Swamiji, could you just repeat that sloka once more?
Yeah, absolutely, dear. That which is embodied, so that which is in the body, experiences the body's childhood, youth, and old age, and also in time acquires a new body, another body. This does not disturb one whose mind is calm. As the senses contact the objects of the senses, feelings of heat and cold, pain and pleasure occur, Arjuna. Kartikeya, does that make sense with what you're describing? Just one more time, listen to what he describes here. As the senses contact the objects of the senses, feelings of hot and cold, pain and pleasure occur.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? That's what's happening, right?
That's fine, man. Yeah.
Okay. These sensations come and go, they're impermanent. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Therefore, patiently endure them. Great pins.
Yeah.
Because they come and go.
Yeah,
Because everything comes and goes. He's teaching yoga.
Yeah.
He's teaching how to have equanimity of mind. Therefore, accept what happens. Let it happen. And be patient, because why? Why would you be patient? Patience is only born of wisdom. So, you can't be patient if you don't know what's going to happen. If you know what's going to happen, you can be very, very patient, right? If you know that it's just a matter of time, then you can be patient. And you know for sure that the situation will change. Then you can be patient. Right? So that's where patience comes. There's a beautiful Sufi poem. It's in the 40 Rules of Love by Shams of Tabriz. Speaking of patience, it says, patience is not an idle waiting. Patience is a knowing. The one who is patient waits for the rose to blossom and knows that it will. So that's patience. Sometimes we hear something, it will take time. No, it takes knowledge. The release from suffering takes knowledge. And then time to blossom. So if we know, for example, that sadhana has a result, and if we see the result of sadhana, and we know how it works, then we can know for sure that there's a release for our suffering. So therefore, what to do? Well, engage in sadhana and give it the time that is needed for the release. Okay. So he says, everything here will change. First you'll have pain, and then you'll have pleasure. And then you'll have what again?
Pain again.
Pain again.
Just is.
And this pain and pleasure is coming from what?
Senses from the body.
Yeah.
It's coming from the contact of
Yeah.
the senses with the sense objects.
Yeah.
Anything experiential is contact of the senses with the sense objects. The biggest sense being the mind. The biggest sense being the mind. So the seed of all of the senses. Right? So anything. Somebody's telling you something nice, wait, and they will tell you something
Nasty.
nasty.
No.
Someone's telling you something nasty? Yes. Wait, and they will tell you something nice.
Whoa.
Have you noticed yet? Have you seen that yet?
Not here.
It's the same. It's the same.
Always
Yeah, even here it happens. Even here it happens. Or someone will say something nasty and someone else will say something
Yes.
nice. And then the idea will arise, well then I want to be with the person who says nice things, not the person who says nasty things. And then wait a while and they will
say nasty.
nasty things.
It's like an endless chicken race.
It is.
It's ragadavesha. The world is made of ragadavesha. It's
Yeah.
made of stuff you like and stuff you don't like. And you try to live your life by having the stuff you like and avoiding the stuff you don't like. But what happens is you miss the life. You miss the real life. You live as if you are temporal, as if you are a limited being. You forget your immortality. Right? And you get so caught up that you're Arjuna on the battlefield and whatever happens, then you lose yourself.
Yeah, because it's a threat. You feel threatened.
It's perceived as a threat. It seems to be a threat.
Yeah.
But to spirit, is it a threat?
No, spirit doesn't feel threatened.
No, and you are spirit. So there's our thing. There's our thing. And you don't necessarily walk out of here saying, okay, I never forget, and then never forgetting, but it's the truth. I'm sharing the truth.
Can spirit feel any pride at all? Like, man, that last life, I just kept being beat up constantly.
That's all mental stuff.
Yeah.
And we don't invalidate the power of thought, because what we learn is the power of thought is the one creator of our experiences. So this experiential plane is shaped completely by thought. So you don't dismiss the thoughts. You do what with the thoughts? Just let's answer this and then you don't dismiss the thoughts. You do what with the thoughts?
Purifying stuff.
You purify the
Yeah.
thoughts. Again, if you know the way it works here,
Yeah.
and
You can play with it.
if you know the way it works here, we just completed thought power. If you know the way it works here, and then what to do is purify the thoughts,
Because you could feel afraid or you could feel happy. They're all emotions.
right? And you can see where they are, and you can see how it comes. And if you practice equanimity, that is, if you're patient and you let the experiences change, you just allow them to change and do what? And engage in your own duty. That's what's being shared here. Oh,
I have a question, Ali. It's about if the soul feels or not, or the spirit. Like, previously I've seen when I've done healing sessions, I see timelines that are afflicted. And what is that? Is that is that spirit, or I want to understand the difference of soul and spirit, and why is that still there?
Yeah. So Krishna is teaching to this. So we'll let him continue for a while, and then we'll come back to your question. But he's answering your question.
Okay.
I'm not dismissing. I'm saying yes, Krishna is teaching to that. So let's let him do, and then we'll come back and see if you're catching what he's sharing related to your question. Okay. In fact, that person who is not tossed about by sense experiences and always stays balanced in pain and pleasure is fit to experience immortality. So this is this immortality, which is, how do I experience it? He says, that person who is not tossed about by sense experiences. And how many sense experiences are there?
As many breaths.
Yeah, these are all sense experiences, right?
Yeah, feelings feel so real. They feel so real.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Really good.
It's an illusion.
But do we catch? Well,
But they do hurt or feel good. They do.
but to who?
To the
my
body.
body. My
To
me.
the to the mind
mind.
and to the body. But it's okay.
I'm not
Even
sure
if you say that, okay, well, that's fine, that's cool. But you shouldn't lose yourself to them. Why do we say that? And how does that fit with what Lord Krishna is sharing? Because why? Because it's impermanent.
It's impermanent. So
And it will change. Right. So therefore, you shouldn't lose yourself to them.
and you do your duty.
Well, why shouldn't you lose yourself to them? Do you notice the difference between being caught up in fear or experiencing fear? Do you notice the difference between being in terrible pain or experiencing pain? Does that sound different? Yeah.
It's
Oh.
detached.
And is it possible to experience pain and to continue to do what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
Is it possible to experience pain and know that the pain will go away?
Yes.
And if you can experience pain and know that the pain will go away, rate your experience, rate your living experience versus being in terrible pain. Look at your quality of life in those two experiences. Which one's better?
You shrink into the pain.
Which one's better? We have experience with both, right? So which one's better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Experiencing
To know.
If you remember that, right? This is what's being shared. He is saying you are immortal, but he's also giving you a way to deal with this. Here's the thing. Be honest. Lord Krishna tells you that you are immortal. Does that seem correct? Is that your experience?
No, I feel like I'm going to die someday.
Okay, so be honest with it.
My
Okay.
soul can live.
So then Lord Krishna says how to experience immortality. That's the last sloka. Now he teaches you how to know that you are immortal, how to experience it. And what does he say?
Be patient.
Be balanced.
equanimity.
Be balanced, equanimity. Don't let these experiences, because the experiences are constantly changing. Don't let these experiences cause you to lose yourself. Stay present.
You don't be attached to them too much.
Right.
Then
And
it
don't
hurts if
chase.
they go away, or they were happy that we have emotions and
Yeah, don't chase pleasure. Don't chase pleasure, and don't try to avoid pain.
Is that the duality? Is that what they?
It's this apparent duality. Apparent duality. So those of us that have tried this, have we experienced something different?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
faith, God. I can go into a whole other mindset.
Right. So that's an experience of immortality.
Yeah, even when like going through pain, you can still appreciate everything you're going through. Just appreciate it.
Appreciate what?
In fact, the person who is not tossed about by the sense experiences and always stays balanced in pain or pleasure is fit to experience immortality. So, and you won't have that experience as long as you're tossed about by what's happening. You'll just have the experience of being tossed about.
Yeah.
So the fact that Lord Krishna is saying that you and I are immortal won't resonate with you. Because you're being tossed about. You won't understand. You might repeat it to others. But you won't experience it yourself. But if you allow yourself or help yourself to see that what he's sharing is correct, how can you do anything here? This is just so important. How can you do anything here?
Here on the earth?
Can you do this? Can you practice exactly what he's sharing?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure.
How do you do it? Have you seen? How do you do
I
it?
have to be mindful when like strong emotions like aversion arise.
So what? Who's mindful? So what
I am.
what practice do you engage in order to do anything here? Will. You practice willpower.
Yes.
And you set an intent. So we did this the other day. We can try again. Just if you have your right hand and you raise your right hand. Right? How do you do that?
Well,
A thought.
With the thought. Just thought power. Right?
It's remarkable.
Yeah, sometimes when we're really caught up in it, we'll say, I raised my right hand.
Yeah.
But who did? In reality, we're eventually going to have to let go of that notion and say, I don't know who did. I just brought the thought of raising this hand.
And thank God we
It did it.
Sometimes it can't raise it.
Yeah. And that force that does it is universal, by the way. It's called God. It's a universal force, which you're not separate from, but that's okay. Still in all. So how do I change then my own way of being and practice what Lord Krishna is saying? You catch it? Willpower.
yes. No.
And intent.
Practice.
Willpower and intent. So, and this is really, in the means, Lord Krishna teaches this, how to do and and what to think about, how to think, how to relate. Let me just read these few other slokas here and then we'll catch and come back in the morning. But still he continues to describe this self, the capital S self, the I, yourself, you. What is not has never been, and what is always is. This truth about the real and the unreal has been realized by the seers. So science is onto this. Has the microphone always been? Will it always be? No. Therefore, is it now a microphone?
It is now.
No.
No?
That's just a thought.
No.
Microphone.
So, but when I look at that, something is real about it.
Mhm.
So what is real about it? Don't say Atman right away.
Construct of molecules.
Don't even.
The thought.
Don't even.
The colors,
Don't. Yeah, okay, fine.
the light,
It's made, what is it made of?
metal.
Metal, okay, the metal.
Energy.
Good, metal. So you can stay with metal for a moment. So now, has the metal always been, and will it always be? No.
Right.
Okay, so next, what's the metal made of?
Smaller like electrons and atoms.
Yeah, electrons, atoms, earth element.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? So that gets closer. That gets closer. What is not has never been, and what is always is. This truth about the real and the unreal has been realized by the seers. Know that all of this vast universe is pervaded by that which is indestructible. No one can destroy what is everlasting and imperishable. The indwelling one is eternal, indestructible, and immeasurable. The bodies of the indwelling one are impermanent. Therefore, Arjuna, whoever thinks that Atman or the self does the killing or can be killed misunderstands that self does not kill, nor is it ever killed. So this brings us to a moral discussion, which we can have tomorrow. About then, does that mean it's okay to kill in all of this? These thoughts might arise. So we can talk to those. But setting that aside for just a moment, who's killing who? What is being killed?
Right.
Right. Helping and harming. What are you helping? What are you harming?
Yeah, that's a question that we can deal with tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very important question.
Yeah.
It's a very important question. But about killing, there is none, is what he says. There is none. There is none. Because that which is indestructible and eternal. So again, if you just accept that for a moment, now that will require inquiry to get with it, will require experience to get there. But if you can just accept for a moment that what he's sharing is true, just allow for it, that which is, which permeates everything here, and everything here is made of it, it's permanent, infinite, indestructible. So how is anything killed here?
It's not killed, it's like you could put somebody through an incredible inconvenience.
Yes, you can, and that we'll come back to again tomorrow, yeah. But the question very specifically is, where is this death?
It's just in the mind, it's acceptance stated.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. I laughed at this point yesterday in our talk. I looked at Darren. Darren's the steward of the space. And we had talked about when I was there a couple of months ago, I said, next time we'll deal with the death of death. The death of death. We'll kill death. Because death is a notion, it's an idea, it's a belief. That's the only existence that death has.
It's a strong and persistent one, though, because I'm thinking
It's a strong and
on the
persistent
side of the road, would I
Yeah.
be able to remember the shloka of the Gita and live?
Well, you
abide
better do that.
Yeah.
You better do that, otherwise your suffering will continue.
Yeah.
And so, there you go.
We have to practice very
Well,
somewhat.
somewhat. Where did that come from?
Well, like, I don't practice, or the awareness doesn't practice.
Okay, just be present for a minute, Gopal. Just be present with this, with what's being shared for a minute. See if you can allow it to be. What we might hope for or pray for is that when we come face to face with this, we might want to know it so strongly that it will become important for us to know it. And if it becomes the most important thing, that's called something like mumukshutva.
Yeah, we are excited.
And that's that willpower and intent.
Faith.
Yeah. The questions which will arise when they're intellectual questions without this really strong desire to know what it is that Lord Krishna is speaking, and the desire to be present for it will take us somewhere, but this really wanting to know So perhaps within the heart, or perhaps in this beingness, we say, I need to know this. I need to live this. I need to be free of these limited notions and ideas.
You ask God, what do you want me to do? You want me to fight? What do you want me to do? That's what Arjuna was saying.
That's what he asked. That's what he asked, yeah.
He didn't
And
want
you know
to do
where-
it, but he did it because he believed in
Yeah,
Krishna.
and you know where Lord Krishna started in answering that question was right here to help him to understand who he is. He didn't answer his question directly right away. He didn't say fight, right? Because now what happened is Arjuna is ready to listen. And so Lord Krishna starts with, here's what I really want you to know.
After all those years of thinking one way, all of a sudden
Yeah.
Krishna appeared and told him to do this thing,
It wasn't to do the thing. He told him to know who you are.
to know who you are.
He said, this is what will save you.
In every
And this is what I'm here to give you, to offer you.
Yeah.
Is this knowledge of who you are. It's the gem without a price. The priceless gem.
Yeah. I can imagine it's really nice to hear when a God is saying that right before all that. You definitely be calmer. You're like, oh, it's gotta be good. You give me this good advice.
Oh.
How do we increase willpower?
Be true to yourself and be true to all. Sachin. Sachin. Never say a fib. If you catch yourself in one, you apologize immediately. And whenever you set a goal, you must assert everything to do it. Or you don't set the goal. This is how you strengthen willpower. You do what you say you're going to do. You do it for the right reasons. You see, that which you are has infinite willpower. It's infinite willpower, but we've lived in a way that it's been dissipated, distracted. And so to develop it, we come back into a way of living that honors the divine, that honors the Dharma, that honors the righteous ways. And little by little, we learn whatever I set my mind to will happen. And we learn how. And we learn to differentiate between the things that are really desired and the things that are extraneous desired. And that's what's called bringing your will into alignment with the divine will. So whenever I want something for myself that's limited, then there's willpower there, and it can become stronger, but still it's bound to be diffused, disturbed, because that's about me attaining happiness with some object.
Even if the object's your own body.
Even, especially, because it's not your body. I mean, if it's your body, then all of them are.
Right.
When we look at our mode of suffering, it's quite something. Sometimes people will say, I dream too big, and the answer will be, no, you don't dream big enough.
Not big enough.
Not big enough. Either include all as yourself or none.
That idea actually stopped me from getting tattoos. You're not in your body, and it's just a borrowing. You're borrowing it, so I'm like, well, I can't really tattoo it all. I better not. Not much.
Yeah, well, took me a while to get to that one. I have some signs over there.
Yeah.
Okay, let's close with one prayer in RT, page 80. Om yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam Orvai Bandhanan Mritor Mukshayamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Bandhanan Mritor Mukshayamamritat Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Orvai Bandhanan Mritor Mukshayamamritat Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Shantu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyanto Makashi Dukhabhakave Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mritor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O adorable Lord of mercy and love, salutations and prostrations unto thee. Thou art omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. Thou art Satchidananda. Thou art existence, knowledge, and bliss absolute. Thou art the indweller of all beings. Grant us an understanding heart, equal vision, balanced mind, faith, devotion, and wisdom. Grant us inner spiritual strength to resist temptation and to control the mind. Free us from egoism, lust, anger, greed, hatred, and jealousy. Fill our hearts with divine virtues. Let us behold thee in all these names and forms. Let us serve thee in all these names and forms. Let us ever remember thee. Let us ever sing thy glories. Let thy name be ever on our lips. Let us abide in thee forever and ever. Ambalo Sakharu Shivananda Maharaj ki. Ambalo Sakharu Saraswati Mani ki.